All right, so just going to do a real quick screencast here on the Hotel 911 book. As you know, we already completed some presentations, looking at some of these survivor stories regarding Trade Center 3. So when you take a look at the book, in the table of contents or the chapter section, you have pretty much the names of the survivors, and I just circled some of the, unique things. For example, this particular survivor recovers their laptop from the rubble. Here you have a 64-year-old priest. He escapes death by seconds. This guy's on the in the gym, and when the uh, flight 11 crashes into the North Tower, debris, I believe it was the engine, winds up crashing through the roof and into the pool that this individual had just gotten out of, and he finds himself changing in the I guess locker area, and he has to figure out what happens. Is most of the survivor stories all talk about how they really weren't sure what was going on. The building was shaking. They're at a meeting. They're on their way to a meeting, and before you know it, the hotel staff is trying to direct people out. Um, Here you have an 80-year-old Florida man. Some of these individuals are interesting, from South Jersey and Philadelphia. Over here, I forgot the other state where the people are able to get home, 2, 3 states over. And it's just kind of fascinating that somebody can, on September 11th, experience the attacks. And then, by 3 o'clock, they're at home. They're on the turnpike. They're getting off of the train. And there is one story where the guy is just decides he's going to go to a bar, and that's where he finds himself. Anyway, we are at the point in class where we're going to start looking at the architecture. So here you see the North and the South Tower. You'll always know the North Tower by the antenna. Here you have some landfill, the Trade Center site, the debris. They actually did dig this out, and then they placed it across the West Side Highway, which is this road right here. And then this was a landfill that was part of the deal, that it was going to create additional space for Lower Manhattan, as the Port Authority was trying to negotiate with the New York City as well as with New Jersey. New Jersey would be on this side here, which was another negotiating point. Initially, they planned on putting the Trade Center site on the east side, where the Atlantic Ocean would be, which would be in this direction. But they needed to broker a deal, and since the Port Authority works for New York and New Jersey, they needed to figure out a way to get New Jersey to sign off on this. And the decision was, we'll move it on this side. That way we can have some subway, the PATH subway, going into this area, which would help New Jersey commuters. So that'll be something to think about for the next class as we start looking at the architecture. So looking at this image here, New Jersey would be in this direction. The West Side Highway would be here. And here you see Trade Center 1, or the North Tower, which gets hit coming from this direction. And then the South Tower gets hit from the south. And Trade Center 3, which is what Hotel 911, the Marriott, is right here, kind of wedged between. So this is where you would see there was a concert area here. There was a memorial that was here. And, if the plane hits in this direction, I mean, if you're leaving from this side, that's problematic. I mean, possibly, maybe you want to get out here, but keep in mind the North Tower is the one that struck first. So if the plane's coming here, it would make sense that people initially are going to be from this area, that they're going to want to start moving people in this direction, because you wouldn't want to evacuate in this particular area, only because you would see falling debris coming from here. And it's also interesting to point out that underground there's routes that connect. If you are familiar with the area, you can access from the Marriott. You can get into the South Tower. You can get into the North Tower, and you can navigate this whole area, this Trade Center site, which is all of this. Underneath was actually a shopping mall. So this is a little bit about the story of Patrick Anderson. What I like about his story, he says here, instead of running south, I turned a sharp right. So if we go here, like I said before, the North Tower is hit here, flight 11. So, looking at this image here, it's kind of inverted or twisted, reversed, whatever. Here we would have World Trade Center 1, the North Tower. So the plane is hit in this direction, which is right here. So first you would probably want to evacuate people in this direction, keep them away from this particular area. And that's what this guy is talking about here. Instead of running south, I turned a sharp right. So they want him to go this way. And he decides he's going to leave the area, which is the thing. Everybody in this hotel, they're being told on the ground street floor that, somebody's there looking at the post at the street, looking up, looking left, looking right. And then, there's a line, try to visualize that. And he's saying, all right, well, go. And your job would be to run across this particular road right here and, make it to safety. And they're trying to do this one by one. So this guy they want him to go straight, which means they want him to go in this direction. He just decides, I'm going to turn a sharp right, which is right here. Then he's going to run across the West Side Highway, which would be right here. And then he finds himself underneath the truck. It says right here, there were 2 other men under the truck. Their eyes were wild with fear. So they're trying to hide out in this particular truck underneath it. Imagine that, just driving on this particular highway, and then how many people wind up seeing that plane crash into the North Tower. Here you have another image. So we have the North Tower. We would have the South Tower here. So if we're looking at the image again, this particular shot would be New Jersey in this direction right here. That would be looking in that direction. So that's how you know that this would be the South Tower. This one right here would be the North Tower. Looking at this particular image here, West Side Highway is right here. Again, the North Tower. Flight 11 comes in this direction. 175 is coming in this direction, which is what this image right here is trying to show you. Another story here. She's in room 2121, smack in the middle of the hotel. So if we go back to this image, if you're right here in the middle, remember the South Tower, although this thing right here is hit second, it does fall first, and it falls on this building, and it cuts this thing in half. So what she's trying to point out here, my room this week was 2121, right smack in the middle of the hotel. I had requested a duplex room the week before instead of the junior suite. And right there, she's talking about her experience. And here you have some images of the South Tower falling right on this Trade Center 3 building, which is right here. Here's another story. This woman is in a wheelchair. That's telling you here this is a memorial, or sorry, not a memorial, a reunion. Where this woman here, she's there with her mother, Leah, and her Faye would have likely died in 9/11 attacks, but they were rescued by these 2 individuals. Then after the attacks, and in some cases, a couple of years go by, and then people start hearing stories, people start watching documentaries, and then they're listening to somebody who's survived say, hey, that's the guy with the white tie, or that's the guy with the suitcase. Which is why when you look at some of the stories, some of the headings here, there's one that you're a man in the tie. There's another one, the first story talks about the man with the briefcase. This guy's carrying a briefcase down, and they're all questioning, hey, what's in that briefcase? Don't recall exactly if they ever find out. The Richard Stark story, this is the 80-year-old. So this individual is saved, as it tells you right here. They slid down a steel beam from the hotel into the rubble of the South Tower to the outside. Now, keep in mind, remember, that building is cut in half. And with that building cut in half, it might be possible to still save people. Maybe you want to go in this direction, maybe access a couple of stairs here if you're capable of doing that. But you really just do not have much time, considering the amount of time that you have between the North Tower getting hit and the South Tower getting hit. And there you have final remains of the building. So Marriott Hotel, Trade Center 3, a building that doesn't get as much attention as the North and South Tower, but another story on the day of 9/11.